have a question to Ms. Faridan about Singapore example. You mentioned about the continuous net zero achievement, but how will you conduct this kind of framework as business? Because normally building owner doesn't have any duty or mandatory to conduct net zero spending cost and consultancy. So how do you have any kind of special contract or agreement with building owner side?
Interesting. Or perhaps I'm just good in influencing. So cost is always, there's always this triple bottom line that we have to juggle all the time. Economics has always been the set of the matter in making decisions. And my approach has always not to rely all on return of investment, because return of investment has always been a confrontational subject, because if you don't have money, how can you have returns of investment? So what I typically do is I have coined my own terms that is called GVE, which is called Green Value Engineering, ever since I started. So yes, it takes a lot of skill to do that. So in Green Value Engineering, there's a lot of trade-offs that you have to do quietly, silently, and without confrontation. So most of these exercises, we do it internally. So in terms of savings, where there's savings, we put it where it's required to put. And where we require more money, we use different modality. That modality comes in a few verticals. It could be fetching financing for modality, such as either the power purchase agreements, or we use other forms of modality. And in today's time, and also going to the future, we can't afford to do zero without the financing aspect of understanding and convincing people what is actually required. That is very difficult to put it in narrative, but at the end of the day, to offset the energy, we need the reduction. And once you do the reduction, that's when you have the savings. And when you have the savings, and then you can spend more money where you require it to spend on. And then there's this thing called threats. Threats are very important. Threats means whether it's a carbon threats or resilient threats, as in we might not have enough energy for the next years to come. Those are threats. So all coming together in one parcel is what you have to present. You can't present just on one subject. That's the answer.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for a good question and answers. So any other questions and comments on the floor? So, yes, please. Thank you. Just the mic.
My name is Ushio of Energy Conservation Center, Japan. I also, involved in this, top 10 program. Maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I visited your office also. And I have one question for the kind of a heating system. I think in China, you have developed the geothermal system for the very cold area to use a heat pump. So what is now situation of this technologies in China in the also application of the this kind of heat pump technologies in the very cold area? That's my question.
So, could you answer from China?
Thank you for your question. But I'm sorry, I'm not very familiar with the technical aspect of the heating pump systems. In that case, I will note down your questions and I maybe hopefully possibly and get back to you in the future.
Thank you very much. Any other questions, comments? Yes, please.
Hello, I am George Koike of ECCJ, I would like to question about a general question about digitalization, the utilization of digitalization in zero emission building. I think the digital transformation is a priority to all, many countries, including Japan. And the application of digitalization to the energy conservation, rational use of energy. I think this has been touched upon in the morning from several speakers, including Christina and Australian speakers. So, and China actually, I think, referred to intelligent control. I think that is has something to do with digitalization, utilization. That's I guess so. My question or observation is whether SEDA, Malaysia, or the President Farizan, do you consider this utilization of intelligent or digitalization aspect when proceeding on the zero emission building construction or planning? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Could you please answer for this question from China?
I think the intelligent control system is very important for energy renovation and low carbon buildings because it helps with your energy strategies and also to work with the makes the building and technologies work in coordination and in the end to achieve higher or better efficiencies.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, from Malaysia.
Thank you.
Digitalization actually is important, but again, before we go to the digitalization in terms of automations, in this case is energy management and so on, we need to understand the needs, the objective, because very often I also sometimes involved in the discussion of development of energy efficient green building and so on. Very often they just wanted to have the building automation system, but experience in monitoring several buildings, sometimes this equipment can be what they call energy guzzler as well, because very often, sometimes when the equipment's not well maintained, the sensors not working, so the operator tends to bypass it, become maximums what they call like for example, no out of control. Yeah, so that's the thing. And the simplest control actually is the best because from my experience monitoring these equipments, it also use energy. One of my past building actually it consume about 4 to 6 kilowatt all the times because all the sensors and so on using energy. And another part is actually the server itself. So I think that's the thing we need to use the technology at the what they call right objective and the right applications. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I got something to add. Actually, digitalization is at the heart of zero energy. The reason being is if I have done my job well, I would depend on the digitalization to carry me to the last mile. Because the last mile is called operational. And operational depends on help. You can't advocate people to switch lights anymore. I've given up on that. So I think most of the time it will be digitalization that will assist us further. So I consider digitalization as carrying us to the last mile to get our numbers done to the T. That is very important. But over the years of experience, yes, there's always hurdles. Not everything should be based on digitalization. Prediction of climates based on outdoor as well as indoor, you can set boundaries by us as well. And we can do that. And digitalization or setting of sensors is gone all the way back during the early days of prediction when we use Markov chains to actually predict what's going to happen based on usability. So it's not a new thing. It's just been brought up to life more. So as a conclusion, it is needed. to get us to where we want to get.
Thank you very much. Yeah, the point of my question is that, yes, at ECCJ, the digital transformation application of this digitalization is one of the homework to do. And it's easy to say, okay, digitalization is kind of up to date. It's a cool, but however, having an actual and concrete image and at the same time to apply it very correctly is another story. So yeah, that's the reason why I just wanted to question. It's a general question. Thank you.
Anyway, I consume more than others, perhaps. I apologize for that. Talking about net zero, but I'm still using energy. A very interesting presentation from, especially from Hasama-san and also Manuel. First, my question to Hasama-san. Indeed, very nice design that you had, that you presented today. Realizing that Southeast Asia is a tropical regime, realizing that the problem of the cooling load is not only sensible heat, right? It is somehow latent heat is quite dominant as well. Your presentation showing the potential to mix between the passive and active cooling, which is in the middle of the area, you make it open. My question is, how you deal with the latent heat? Because I think it's quite dominant. Including over there, if you implement those into other areas, especially in the city areas, in other big cities in Southeast Asia, dust and noises is quite dominant as well. So how you introduce your concept into more comfort in regard with the latent heat, noises, and dust? Thank you. And is it okay later on ask Manuel? Okay, that one first. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Yes, as you said, the latent heat, dust, and so on is a very, very big problem. But of course, we have to investigate the potential of the outdoor area. For example, in Singapore, we can maybe expect the outdoor air for the intaking and indoor, except for the hot months like May and June. And furthermore, we should also avoid the haze situation. But I think, for example, we can carefully pick up the situation if we can monitor the outdoor situation. For the avoiding such kind of the bad outdoor area, maybe we can, it's okay. But on the other hand, the latent heat is so important. But just in terms of the thermal comfort, for example, the indoor situation is not a big issue because we get enough air movement. It contributes enough removal performance of the heat. But on the other hand, if we introduce a mixed situation, we may suffer how can I say the problem for the mold and so on. But I think, yeah, to be honest, this is challenging. But if we introduce the very, very moderate and the sort of coil unit, maybe we can carefully avoid such kind of the problems. But of course, yeah, this is just start point. Yeah, it's okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Can I have a second question?
Okay.
Or anyone else? Okay. Thank you, Azama-san. The next question is for Manuel. Sorry. Thank you for your presentation again, Manuel. I do agree with what you did over there. Really looking at the perspective of, as I mentioned in the morning, on the life cycle perspective on the building sectors, which is we need to consider not only the operational phase but also on the material phase, and including construction phase, as well as beyond material production, which is the quarry extraction of the material and so on. Realizing it, understanding the whole concept of life cycle, your presentation is focusing on the 15 to at least 20% of the whole energy, if it's including the operational energy consumption, right? So how you incorporate to reduce energy consumption with your design, looking at on your material design, into the whole perspective of including the operational energy consumption, how you deal both? Do you have any explanation on that? Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question. I hope I understood it right. Yeah, of course, besides the life cycle perspective, we are also focusing on the actual energy saving perspective with high efficient appliances, with high efficient construction models of the management system of buildings. You had this discussion about digitalization, which is one thing that we are also focusing on nowadays, that we try to optimize the energy saving while operating the building. I hope I understand. I hope I answered your question right.
Are you using a digitalization?
Yes, we are also on that. Yeah.
Okay, and then efficient appliances.
Efficient appliances, yes.
Okay. My question is linked to the how effective your materials regarding with the thermal load within the buildings. Whether is it better than comparing to the conventional material regarding with the thermal comfort?
I'm sorry, the last part was really unclear. I have a slight delay here in terms of.
So whether your materials is better in comparison with the conventional materials regarding with the thermal comfort.
I mean, so far we have been practicing on that, and as I mentioned, we use a lot of wood constructions for the surface, for the envelope of the buildings, and this is connected with additional insulation materials that comes from sustainable materials that are fully recyclable, and in combination with the wood panels, with the wood constructions, we're having this thermal comfort, so envelopes surroundings, as it saves a lot of energy. So we have reduced the energy supply of the buildings in recent months of only 2%, which is part of the energy crisis. But one need to understand that we are having a building stock here in Germany that has already been built. And most buildings here are coming from the 1950s. And this is a long way that we are going to the envelope and really starting to change on that.
Okay. So thank you very much. For the sake of the time scheduling, I'd like to conclude the session.